The clock has never been the arbiter of your progress. Though you have been taught to measure your life by its movement, you have likely noticed that the hardest workers often remain at the base of the mountain, while others seem to ascend through a silent, effortless invitation from the summit itself. This is not a glitch in the system of merit. It is the first evidence of law that does not care for your sweat. If the external world has felt like a wall of resistance, it is because you've been attempting to move objects from the outside, ignoring the fact that your current position is not a physical location, but a frequency of expectation that the universe is merely mirroring back to you with clinical precision. Most carry the invisible scent of pursuit, unaware that to chase a result is to broadcast its absence. When you run toward prosperity, you are simultaneously confirming that it is not where you are. The reality you inhabit has no choice but to maintain that distance to remain consistent with your internal state. This is the inverted pursuit. The more you strive from a place of wanting, the more the world solidifies your identity as one who lacks. Your effort acts as a repellent, creating a friction that no amount of discipline can overcome because you're trying to outrun a shadow that is attached to your own feet. The environment you navigate is not a collection of independent events, but a responsive field that reorganizes itself around your mental center of gravity. Every financial delay, every recurring plateau, and every misconnection is an automated response to an internal incoherence you didn't know you were projecting. You have been operating a sophisticated piece of machinery while leaning heavily on the wrong gears, wondering why the output remains unchanged. The world does not give you what you deserve or what you work for. It yields only what aligns with the silent, unwavering assumptions you hold about your place within it. There's an uncomfortable realization waiting in the stillness. You have never actually lost time. You have simply been experiencing the only possible outcome of the state you occupied. To believe that you were unlucky is a comforting fiction that masks a deeper, more mechanical truth, that your reality is a perfect mathematical reflection of your internal conviction. If the reflection in the mirror is distorted, you do not fix the glass. You adjust the object standing before it. Until now, you have been fighting the reflection, exhausted by a battle against a ghost that cannot be defeated on its own terms. The door you are standing before does not lead to a new technique, but to a restoration of an original power that you have been using against yourself. To continue is to stop the leakage of your influence and to begin the process of forcing the internal alignment that makes external resistance impossible. There is a silent order organizing every success and failure you have ever witnessed, and it is currently waiting for your next movement. The cost of ignoring this law has already been paid in years of unnecessary friction. The only question remains whether you are prepared to occupy the center of gravity that commands a different response. The phenomenon of the treadmill existence is not a failure of character, but a triumph of mechanical consistency. You see them everywhere. The exhausted architects of their own stagnation, individuals who have mastered the art of the grind, yet remain anchored to the same socioeconomic coordinates year after year. They accumulate degrees, they sacrifice sleep, and they refine their strategies with the precision of a master watchmaker, only to find that the hands of their personal clock never move forward. This persistent stasis is rarely questioned in its essence. Instead, it is misdiagnosed as a lack of grit or a temporary bout of misfortune. In reality, it is the most honest feedback the universe can provide, a cold mirror reflecting a fundamental truth that most are too tired to see. This labor, while aesthetically impressive, is often nothing more than a frantic attempt to compensate for a void that cannot be filled with activity. When the internal state is one of fundamental doubt, every action taken is saturated with that very quality. You can build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand, and no amount of expensive glass or reinforced steel will prevent the eventual tilt. People wonder why their massive efforts yield microscopic returns, failing to realize that the universe does not respond to what they do, but to the identity from which the action originates. If you act to escape poverty, you are reinforcing the reality of poverty with every step you take. You are validating its presence, and the field around you responds by maintaining the distance you have implicitly defined. The friction you feel in your daily life is not an external obstacle placed there by a malevolent fate. It is the sound of your own internal gears grinding against a reality that is trying to remain consistent with your deepest assumptions. Imagine a runner attempting to move forward while tied to a heavy anchor. The harder they sprint, the deeper the anchor digs into the earth. The world observes the effort, but obeys the anchor. This is a paradox of the unaligned life. The The more you force the external world to change, the more you confirm your belief that it is currently unacceptable, thereby pinning yourself to the very state you wish to leave behind. The struggle itself becomes the evidence that keeps you bound. Consider the silence that follows a major disappointment, that hollow feeling that suggests something is inherently wrong with the mechanics of your life. This is not an emotional response, but a brief moment of lucidity where you perceive a mismatch between your desire and your conviction. You've been playing a game where the rules are hidden, operating under the delusion that volume of work translates to volume of result. Yet, the evidence suggests otherwise. There are those who move through the world with a quiet, almost offensive ease, whose every move seems to be met with a welcoming path. They are not smarter or more deserving. They simply lack the internal friction that you have mistaken for necessary effort. The tragedy of the modern achiever is the belief that the external world is a solid, unyielding thing that must be conquered through siege. This perspective ignores the fluid, responsive nature of the field we inhabit. When you approach a task with the underlying fear that it might fail or the desperate hope that it must succeed, you have already broadcasted the possibility of defeat into the fabric of your environment. The reality that manifests is merely the echo of that broadcast. You are not a victim of circumstance, but the silent commander of a very specific, albeit frustrating, set of outcomes. The question is not why you haven't reached your goal, but what state you are currently inhabiting that makes your goal an impossibility. The concept of pursuit is perhaps the most celebrated delusion in our culture. We are told to chase our dreams, unaware that the very act of chasing ensures the object of our desire stays ahead of us. To chase is to declare that the thing is out there, separate and distant. This creates a psychological and energetic vacuum that the universe must maintain. If you are the chaser, the universe must provide something to be chased. It is a closed loop of perpetual pursuit where the finish line is a mirage that recedes at the exact pace of your advancement. You are not gaining ground. You are simply thickening the walls of your own exile. This is the wrong game that most of humanity is playing without knowing it. They believe they are in a competition with others, with the market, or with time. But the only game in operation is the one occurring between your conscious desires and your subconscious convictions. When these two are at war, the subconscious always wins, not through effort, but through the sheer weight of its presence. It is a silent partner in every transaction, the invisible hand that signs every contract or sabotages every deal. If your subconscious identifies as someone who must struggle, it will find a way to turn a golden opportunity into a leaden burden, and it will do so with such subtlety that you will blame the economy. Consider the weight of your own wanting. Wanting is a state of tension. It is the acknowledgement of a whole. When you focus on what you want, you are shining a high-powered spotlight on the whole itself. The field around you, being responsive, proceeds to give you more wanting, more whole, and more absence. This is why, after years of intense desire, many find themselves exactly where they started, only more bitter. They have mastered the frequency of longing, and they have been rewarded with a life that perfectly facilitates more longing. They have become experts in the architecture of the void, building magnificent monuments to things that haven't happened yet. The response to reality is automatic. It does not require your permission, nor does it wait for your belief in a traditional, religious sense. It is more akin to a chemical reaction. If you combine certain elements, you get a specific result every single time. Your internal state is the chemical composition. Your life is the reaction. If the reaction is one of stagnation, it is because the elements of your internal state, your secret fears, your habitual self-talk, your assumptions about what is possible for someone like you, cannot produce anything else. You are demanding gold from a reaction that only contains lead, and you are getting angry at the beaker for not complying. There is a certain coldness to this truth that can be terrifying. It removes the comfort of being a victim. It suggests that every hardship you have endured was not a test from a higher power or a streak of bad luck, but the inevitable harvest of a seed you didn't know you had planted. However, within this discomfort lies the first spark of true agency. If the resistance is coming from within, then the solution cannot be found without. You've been looking for a key in the streets when the door is inside your own house. The friction you feel is a handle turning, but you have been pulling when you should have been standing still. The invisible order of the mind does not recognize the difference between a good intention and a bad one. It only recognizes a dominant impression. You may spend an hour a day visualizing wealth, but the other 23 hours are spent in a state of quiet anxiety about bills. The 23 hours will win every time. It is a matter of mental mass. The state you return to when you're not trying to think positively is your true home, and it is from this home that your life is built. Most people are tourists in the land of belief, but permanent residents in the land of doubt. They wonder why their brief visits to a higher state don't result in a permanent change of scenery. This discrepancy creates what we might call internal static. It is a noise that prevents the signal of your intent from reaching the field with any clarity. When you say, "I am successful but feel like a fraud," the universe hears the feeling, not the words. The feeling is the true command. The feeling is the position. The words is just a thin veneer of hope stretched over a massive structure of fear. This is why positive thinking often fails so spectacularly. It is an attempt to paint over rust. Eventually, the rust eats through the paint, and the underlying structure decay is revealed once more, usually at the most inconvenient moment possible. The center of gravity in your life is currently set to a specific level of thermal comfort, just as a thermostat keeps a room at a consistent temperature. Your internal state keeps your life at a consistent level of struggle or ease. When things get too good, you subconsciously sabotage them to return to the temperature you feel you deserve. When things get too bad, you work frantically to bring them back up to that same baseline. You are not striving for the top. You are striving for familiar. The invisible walls of this comfort zone are reinforced by every thought you have about your limitations, every story you tell about your past, and every reason you give for why things are hard. Why is it that the realization of this law often feels like a burden rather than a gift? Because it demands the death of the ego's favorite narrative, the story of the noble struggler. We have been conditioned to find pride in our effort, to wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. But in the realm of the mind, exhaustion is a sign of incompetence. It means you are trying to do with your muscles what should be done with your presence. You are trying to move the mountain with a teaspoon when you should be moving the ground the mountain sits on. The discomfort you feel now is the ego's resistance to the idea that its hard work has been largely irrelevant. You have been operating under the assumption that the world is out there and you are in here. This separation is the primary source of all your blockages. As long as you believe the world is separate from you, you'll feel the need to protect yourself from it, to compete with it, and to wrest what you need from its cold, indifferent hands. But what if the world is not a place you inhabit, but a projection you are casting? If the projection is flickering and distorted, you don't go to the screen to fix it. You go to the light source. You are the light source, and the film running through a projector is the current state of your internal conviction. The realization that your state of being is the sole cause of your circumstances is a moment that unbeatable walls start to turn into mist. It is the beginning of the end for the version of you that was defined by delay. You start to see that the unlucky breaks were actually moments where your internal incoherence manifested physically. The business partner who flaked, the investment that soured, the opportunity that vanished. These were not external events happening to you. They were the physical shadows of internal doubts that had finally reached critical mass. They were the no that you had already said to yourself, echoed back by the world. This leads to a chilling but necessary observation. You have never been denied anything by anyone but yourself. The world is a yes machine. If you believe life is a struggle, the world says yes, it is a struggle, and provide the evidence. If you believe you are unworthy of ease, the world says yes, you are unworthy, and creates the barriers. It is a perfect servant with no moral compass. It will build you a palace or a prison with equal enthusiasm, depending entirely on the blueprints you provide. You have been providing blueprints for a prison and wondering why the ceilings are so low. The transition from the pursuer to the center of gravity requires a total abandonment of the need for external validation. As long as you are looking at your bank account to decide how you should feel, you are trapped in the loop. You are letting the reflection tell the object what to look like. This is a definition of powerlessness. To break the cycle, the internal state must become so dense, so heavy, and so certain that it becomes a primary reality, making the external world a mere shadow that has no choice but to follow. You must become the cause, which means you must stop reacting to the effects. This is the point where most people turn back. They find it too difficult to feel wealthy while looking at a small balance, or to feel powerful while facing a challenge. They demand to see the proof before they change their state. But the proof is the last thing to arrive. Reality has a certain density. It takes time for the physical world to reorganize itself around a new mental center. This delay is a final test of coherence. Most people change their state for a day, see no change in their world, and immediately revert to their old state of doubt. They then claim the law doesn't work, when in fact it worked perfectly. It responded to their return to doubt. You are now perceiving the outline of a silent, automated mechanism that has been running your life since the day you were born. It is the reason for every peak and every valley. It is the reason you are reading these words right now. You have reached a state of friction that can no longer be ignored. The old way of operating, the pushing, the striving, the hoping, has been exposed as a hollow exercise. You are standing at the edge of a fundamental reorganization of your entire existence, where the only thing required is a shift in where you place your weight. But that shift feels like jumping into a void, because it requires you to trust something you cannot see over everything you can. The sensation of being unstoppable is not an increase in energy, but a total removal of resistance. When you are no longer at war with yourself, the world stops being at war with you. The obstacles that seem like mountains are revealed to be nothing more than the ripples of your own previous agitation. As you begin to occupy a new internal position, you will notice that the external world begins to align with an almost eerie fluidity. People call, opportunities appear, and resources manifest not because you earned them in the traditional sense, but because they are now the only things that are consistent with who you have become. This is the hidden meaning behind the concept of faith as a mental law. It is not a blind hope, but a calculated technical requirement. It is the act of holding an internal position so firmly that the external world has no choice but to fold. It is the understanding that your internal conviction is the only real thing, and that the physical world is just a slow-moving liquid that eventually takes the shape of the container you provide. You are the container. If you want a bigger life, you do not go out and grab more life. You expand the container. The life will flow in automatically to fill the space you have created. The discomfort you have felt throughout this exploration is the feeling of your old identity dissolving. That identity was built on the idea that you are a small, separate entity fighting against a vast, indifferent universe. That version of you is dead the moment you realize that the universe is actually a responsive extension of your own mind. The fear of failure, the anxiety of time, and the pressure of making it happen are all symptoms of that old, dying self. They have no place in the new architecture you are beginning to inhabit. You are moving from a life of trying to a life of being, and the difference is the difference between a drowning man and the ocean itself. You must now face the reality that there is no one to blame and no one to wait for. There is no external force holding you back, and there is no external savior coming to lift you up. There's only the law and your relationship to it. You have been using this law to create a life that you don't want, which is a testament to your power, not your weakness. You have been so powerful that you have successfully convinced yourself of your own powerlessness. Now, that same power is being redirected, not through a new effort, but through a new understanding of what has always been true. The path forward is not a path at all, but a deepening of this current realization. You are not going somewhere. You are becoming the place where everything happens. The world will soon begin to show you signs of this shift. Small coincidences, sudden openings, a sense of lightness where there was once lead. Do not mistake these for good luck. They are the first clicks of the lock as the tumblers finally align. The door is not opening because you pushed hard enough. It is opening because you finally stopped leaning against it. The coherence is returning. The silent order is reestablishing itself. And for the first time, you are not the one struggling to keep up. The struggle you once carried has begun to lose its familiar weight, revealing itself not as a badge of honor, but as the friction of a machine operating against its own design. You are starting to perceive that the walls you spent years trying to scale were never made of stone, but of a dense, psychic static generated by the very act of trying. The exhaustion of the chase is being replaced by a cold, quiet clarity. The world never required your permission to move, only your stability to settle. To return to the frantic rhythm of the seeker would now feel like wearing a garment that no longer fits, an awkward constriction against a truth that has already begun to expand within the silence of your own recognition. The center of gravity is shifting from horizon back to the source. You are no longer the one looking at the mountain, wondering how to move it. You are becoming the ground that determines where the mountain stands. This is a quiet authority of internal position, a state so heavy with certainty that it bends the light of circumstance around it. It is the realization that you have stopped negotiating with life and have instead started to occupy it. The desperation of wanting has dissolved into the presence of having, and in that transition, the chaotic noise of the external world begins to organize itself into a profound and rhythmic obedience. The rules you once feared, the laws of luck, timing, and competition, now appear as the shallow myths of those who remain on the outside. You have glimpsed the silent machinery behind the curtain, the automated response of reality that has always been your mirror, never your master. There is a certain discomfort in this new freedom, as it strips away the luxury of blame and leaves you standing in the center of your own creation. Every delay you once lamented was merely a reflection of your own internal hesitation, and every breakthrough you now sense is simply the world catching up to a decision you have already made in the depths of your being. As you move back into the flow of the visible world, you carry an invisible advantage that others will sense but cannot name. You no longer project the scent of the pursuer, which means you no longer trigger the world's instinct to retreat. You are learning the art of the still point, the place where the need for external proof vanishes and is replaced by a conviction that requires no defense. This is not a state of waiting, but a state of inevitability. The friction is gone because the separation is gone. You have stopped trying to reach the destination because you have realized that you are the path itself. The restoration of your internal coherence is not an event that will happen in the future, but a process that has already been triggered by your recognition of these words. To deepen this alignment is the only logical movement left, a natural gravitation toward a version of you that no longer asks for what it already commands. If the echoes of this truth resonate with a frequency you can no longer ignore, then perhaps it is time to formalize this shift and anchor yourself permanently in the center of your power. The mirror only moves when you do.